What's going on, all you wild Sam Hain enthusiasts? It's your two favorite mass assailants back here for 31 Days of Horror and the Cinephellas, boys. I'm Logan Myers.
And I'm Dr. Samuel Loomis. How's it going, boys? This was my final film of the franchise.
You don't know what death is!
Get the hell out of there, honey!
Well, this time around, this is really Donald Pleasant's last performance before he passed away not too long after this film. Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. The Curse of Paul Rudd and how he's never aged over these years.
Yeah, it's a good curse. Give me some of that curse of thorn.
I know, right?
Get that youthful appearance.
Yeah, but the setup of this film, this is the third installment in the Thorn trilogy. As you guys remember, in Halloween 5, we saw the tattoo, the Thorn tattoo on Michael's arm. This is the final installment of that, having to do with the Man in Black and the cult and sacrifices and all that fun stuff and things that go bump in the night on Halloween. But this takes place 6 years after part 5. So we see Jamie Lloyd is like 15 or whatever, supposed to be at least in this film, and escaping with their baby. Michael's going after them to try to get the baby essentially because it's in the bloodline and has to do with really the whole setup of the film.
I remember during this time, 1995, I had no idea this movie was being made. It was back in the day where, you had to buy certain magazines for your movie news, Cinescape, Starlog, those kind of magazines. And I don't know, somehow this just didn't get any marketing. I remember going to our mall, which had a theater in it once, and I saw the poster for like coming attractions, and I saw this, I was like, oh shit, I had no idea there was another Halloween film. Hadn't seen a trailer or anything when I went to see it, so this was all new. And yes, like you mentioned, this continues this Cult of Thorn kind of trilogy they set up in 4, 5, and 6. At the end of the fifth movie, you have Jamie Lloyd there with Donald Pleasance. They're at the police station. Michael's been chained up, I think. I think they kind of captured him at the end of that. The Man in Black ends up coming, obviously freeing Michael, and it continues on with this story. This picks up several years later after that. And in that beginning scene, which is very cool, I like how the movie kicks off. It sets the tone, and it does a really good job. It's very dark. Michael is following Jamie. He ends up throwing her through this kind of farm equipment with all these blades in it. I remember he kind of throws her up in that. So it's a cool death sequence. Yeah, it cuts her up. It's pretty gory. Michael has a different mask in this. I don't really like how he looks. He kind of looks like a fat, out of shape kind of
he does.
Yeah.
I noticed that too. He's shorter and he's chunkier. And his mask doesn't go all the way in, so it's like sticking out, and his hair. I mean, the mask is pretty creepy, but it's just the way it sits on him. It's like hanging out.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm gonna outrun this guy. He's not in shape.
Yeah, he doesn't look as in shape as the other shapes, we'll say. But yeah, this initial chase, which leads them going into this kind of truck stop bathroom. Where Jamie goes, and Jamie's found. She ends up getting killed by Michael, but the baby is left there. And that introduces us to Tommy Doyle, who this time is grown up now, obviously, and is played by the one, the only, that beautiful Paul Rudd.
Oh, Paul. Yeah, this is one, I think it's the second film he did back in the 90s, first one being Clueless. But playing a more eccentric Tommy Doyle, like he's really knowledgeable, but he's really out there and weird. And I love this movie. I love his performance in this movie, seeing the young Paul Rudd and everything he's accomplished over these years in comedy, and then being a superhero now. I mean, this is where he started. And my favorite horror franchise, and this is definitely my favorite film in the Thorn trilogy. Very nostalgic for me. Remember, like you were talking, I remember seeing this back in 1995, but we rented it because there was no marketing for this movie. I don't remember any trailer for it, but it showed up to the video store. I rented it and watched it over and over again. So this movie's always been fun to me. And it's really dark compared to the other two. They went to a really dark place in this and thrown in the occult and the sacrifice of this baby, having to do with Thorn and everything, and the Man in Black. It's just really fucking dark. And this is a Miramax film. huge back in the 90s. They went on to do a lot of huge slasher flicks and horror flicks, and I think Scream, and then they did H2O and The Faculty and a lot of horror flicks back then. But this is my introduction to Miramax, and really fun film all around.
This was also Donald Pleasant's final appearance as Sam Loomis throughout the film. Yeah, we lost a great Sam Loomis. I feel like when he when he passed away, the franchise kind of exited with him in a way, because without Sam Loomis, you don't really have a proper Halloween film. You're missing that. That was one of the key ingredients, obviously, of the John Carpenter classic film. So we lost a giant, and obviously Donald Pleasance did many other great films in his career. So this is his last appearance, and you could tell he was getting older and might have had some health issues. He didn't sound so strong and healthy. He kind of talked and was breathing heavy.
Michael, I was whispering, and you could tell he wasn't doing good.
So he wasn't doing very well, and he passed shortly after this film. So in the film, we see Tommy and him meet up. Tommy has done all this research about this cult of thorns, so he knows what's going on. He ends up finding Stephen, Jamie's baby. And they work together to try to stop this curse, to try to stop Michael once and for all and end this curse to save Stephen's life. Worth mentioning is there's a producer's cut of this film where Stephen, Jamie's baby, they hint at Michael Myers impregnating Jamie and Stephen actually being Michael's son. So if anybody wants to deep dive and get creepy and get incestual with the Halloween franchise, they went there on the producer's cut. Obviously, this movie didn't do very terribly well at the box office. They had to kind of reboot it. Like you mentioned, Miramax took over during this film. And then the next installment after this one, they didn't ever talk about the Curse of Thorn anymore. This one ended it. They went right into H2O, which picked up directly after the events of the original Halloween. And like we see in these latest sequels, they're just ignoring everything that came after basically the first, although it's kind of perplexing because the new sequels are basically just going over where Halloween 2 started with the hospital and everything. So kind of just redoing everything in a way. But Halloween 6, for what it is, it didn't get very good ratings. It didn't have a killer box office. It's the best of the Thorn trilogy for sure, out of 4, 5, and 6. It's ambitious. They added some good backstory. At least they tried something different. They tried to give Michael this higher purpose and a reason that he's killing. So for what it is, it's worth revisiting. Seeing Paul Rudd there as a young actor, up and coming, his second film. Would have liked to see him in the new one reprise the role of Tommy Doyle, which he was interested in, but he's a busy guy nowadays, so he couldn't do it. We'll have Anthony Michael Hall instead. But overall, I had a pretty good time with Halloween Curse of the Michael Myers, especially when I saw it the first time initially, as a kid. Obviously I hadn't by then analyzed every film like I have now, and as a super fan of the franchise. But I mean, even the most terrible Halloween movie is pretty good in my book. For Halloween Curse of Michael Myers, I am going to give this film a 3.5 out of 5 Paul Rudd as Tommy Doyle hairpieces.
This is a movie that I enjoy watching every year during the Halloween season. I pretty much watch the entire franchise every year. They just never get old to me, but I really hate part 5 a lot. It was talking about that just pisses me off. I think this movie is a step up. It took 6 years to make this. They went about it a different way with a different director, Joe Chappelle, and they went about it in a more darker approach as well. Really gruesome, brutal kill scenes. A darker tone having to do with Thorn, and then the occult and sacrifices, and also going back to the Strode family in this film, having to do with Kara Strode helping them out with the baby and trying to track down Michael and kill him. And I thought it was pretty interesting. Really good score. Production value was really good. So I don't understand all the hate for this movie. Maybe just the marketing was pretty terrible, but it's a fun cult classic to watch during the Halloween season. So that being said, Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers. Definitely my favorite of the Thorn trilogy. I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5 Paul Rudd hairpieces.
What did you guys think of Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers? Did you guys think it's a worthy follow-up, and especially the best out of that Thorn trilogy, or did you guys absolutely hate it? Let us know in the comments. And as always, don't forget to subscribe and tell your all your friends about us, and keep following along with us on this journey throughout the 31 days of horror. We're having a great time reviewing these horror films, talking about some old ones, as well as covering some of the newer shows and movies that are going to be coming out here in October. So we're having fun with this, and we will be back with plenty more. So until the next 31 Days of Horror review from these two wild and terrifying gentlemen here. I'm Uncle Henry Hill.
And I'm Uncle Logan Myers. Until next time.
From Haddonfield.
Cheers.
It was a ghost talking on the radio last night. That's a ghost being carried out here right now.